We're gonna die! It's not that bad, you might hit a patch of water and have an extra hour. We're gonna die!
It's like that scene in Pete. Already off to a bad start if you're quoting Pete.
Ladies and gentlemen, now you know how we work. We do things in the wrong order.
Yeah, just for the sake of the documentary, I'm going to explain here. So, we only did one shoot for the beginning at the end, and it was a very short one because Marc's connection dropped out and Mango wasn't there because Mango had the right mind to piss off because Marc had pissed him off. Mango had gone off at that point because of a rather unfortunate incident where Marc decided to be a cunt at Travel in Time, which is his Doctor Who game. I'd actually quit by that point, but once again Marc doesn't listen. So there's only 2 members of cast now because you were a git at Travel in Time and then Mango left, or at least that's as far as I'm aware. I ended up at filming that week after we finally got around to filming. We only had 2 actors, which was me and Marc, and it was just a really awful filming session because it was, as far as Marc was concerned, it was productive, but for people involved, it's just not fun. So I was glad that was the only 2-person shoot we did.
This one's not going to be boring and shit. You remember what happened when me and you were together on the old sets?
Yeah, I know, but I'm not a big fan of doing things with just 2 people.
Or am I, but we have to do it.
Very uncomfortable and awkward filming session.
If we want Red Dwarf Roblox to come out this year, it don't. Okay, it's not coming out this year. It's coming out next year.
It doesn't. It doesn't fucking matter. The beginning of the end. I'm sure you'll be able to summarise this one.
It's my favourite episode.
It is, yes.
There's explosions and spaceships, and it's basically Series 10's final episode, but with more fun.
I refurbished the Seabug miniature that I built in August. And Marc wanted to use Seabug for an episode. That was all he had in terms of ideas. Seabug.
Basically, it's a remake of Series 3, Marooned, with a lot more death.
We're going to die.
And a lot more if they don't find us quickly, we're dead scenario. Oh, Smeg, yeah. And there's a lot more Kryten and Cat in it.
And he was saying, I really want to write an episode with Seabug. And I was saying to him, okay, do you have any ideas? He said, yeah, I want to use Seabug.
One of the most ambitious things was with that episode was I wanted stuff from many different series.
The idea was that they'd go and find a derelict, or they'd go and find some sort of, just go like a sort of back to reality thing.
Yeah, back to the Earth. What they did, what the idea of that was, that's why where the stairs go up in Starbug and in Seabug they go down. They go down to the diving bell. That's what the idea of that was. While I was here on my own a few minutes ago, I thought, how funny would it be if in the shot they go down the Seabug stairs
and come down these
and carry on down these like. Oh.
How do we end up here? What's going on? Eventually, he started writing the episode and decided, because it was going to be the series finale, he wanted it to be big and sort of it meant business, and he was sort of going for Simulants. So he was obviously trying to emulate the beginning, the final episode of Series 10, which is echoed in the title, The Beginning of the End.
That's also where the name came from, because the very first episode is called The End, and the very last episode currently is called The Beginning. So, the beginning of the end. That's actually where the name came from.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's move again.
Let's go upstairs. Oh, wait.
Simulants.
Are you going to conduct the scene from up there? Oh.
I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
I've not read this for ages.
I've not read this script since I wrote it, considering I wrote it about 2 in the morning. I just found out how funny that line is. I'm even letting Rimmer bring his crayons on paper.
So, the plot basically is
the crew get a signal.
The ship finds a signal. Red Dwarf finds a signal, so they decide to go look at it.
And they go to track it down.
And Kryten's getting all worried because he knows he's got a premonition that something's going to happen similar to Marooned. And Rimmer says, "Oh, please."
The camera then cuts to behind an asteroid where there's a simulant ship waiting, probably Annihilator, I think I had in my mind at that point. Watching and waiting for them to react to the signal.
And they get shot down by Annihilators from the Simulants onto a planet.
Starbug dodges 5 missiles, 1 hits, and the ship starts heading down. Interior shot, Kryten on screen. Sirs, you're hit and are going down. I checked your engine statics. No possibility of you pulling up.
So, space has no pressure, which is what Starbug was used to, but Starbug is also a very tough ship, so when it goes into the water where it's just pressure all around, it manages to keep air without breaking the surrounding area, i.e. the walls, for a good, I think I had it down to an hour.
For this, like, you could be sat at the table, sort of like all hopes lost, like, oh, help's never coming, and I've just resorted to beer and curry, so I've been in the kitchen and I just walk out.
Yeah.
The pressure is building, and the ship will give way at any second and start filling with gallons and gallons of water, so they're in danger.
And then back on Red Dwarf.
Kryten somehow manages to get in contact with them.
Cat and Kryten and Holly spend hours preparing Seabug.
Kryten and Cat follow in Seabug.
And then they get their coordinates and then they drop Seabug.
And there's a lot of debate about what Seabug should do as well. Particularly how Seabug gets to a planet, how long it can spend in space. Marc was trying to overcomplicate it, and I was thinking, look, we're not even going to see it in space, so why are you trying to explain that it's used to atmosphere, it's used to pressure underwater, not pressure in space, so it's going to explode in space if it's in space for longer than 10 minutes, and let's see, the Red Dwarf's going to fire it at the planet and hope that it hits it. Well, why don't we just have it fly? No, because the pressure.
And then they get a diving bell onto them. And then they save them.
So they don't actually spend that long of much of the episode underwater, so it gives a lot of opportunity for a big action-packed finale. As far as I was concerned, the Seabug episode was not finished, because the beginning of the end, we filmed it, and I was saying to Marc, what, you want to film an episode that's not finished? And he said, it is finished. I said, really? And so I got around to reading it, and up until that point, the episode had ended at the diving bell because Marc hadn't finished it, but he had it by the time we got to film it.
Oh my god. This has no consistency at all, John.
The Simulants have since moved on to Red Dwarf and started attacking that, and they've got on board and they're trying to find Holly, and there's some weird gag about a pretty little girl.
And then they get back to Red Dwarf and they lock down, which does nothing, apparently. So they lock down, but they can still open doors.
And then
they find Simulants in the bunk room, and then they shoot them, and that was the end.
I'm going to film my own Red Dwarf Roblox again. Ah! And I read that, and I thought, first reaction was, it's a little bit of a sort of a disappointing ending to the series. To what that episode promises and to what the series promises. I have a respect, I respect that episode because of what it aims to be, but once again, it doesn't quite reach that height.
It was too long.
And then I realised a couple of weeks later that I recognised that ending because that was the ending to an episode called Sim Attack, which was from the first 2012-2013 drafts.
It was slow-paced, and it wasn't funny.
The episode ended with a simulant getting shot. So that ending was just dragged out to end, to give a rather naff ending to what was a rather promising episode.
And the plot was shit. It's like having a comedy which has no comedy in it. There was no jokes that were funny at all. And when it was funny, it wasn't intended to be, and it was just bollocks. Which is your idea, your whole.
2 in the morning, all I'm saying.
Yeah, don't write scripts at 2 in the morning then. The episode he wrote, I actually quite like the first 2/3 of it. because he's intending for something of the same style of plot as Marooned, but also with the same sort of drama of a Simulant episode like Justice or The Beginning.
What would have changed in the script? I would have probably, instead of them crashing into the water and Holly notifying the other crew, I'd make them crash into the water, Holly say they've lost a signal, and make them go out in Blue Midget, search party, find the Annihilators, have a scene that has Blue Midget and Annihilators on the planet. They go back, they've sort of realised what's happened, so they start scouting underwater in the area that the signal's gone missing, rather than just, oh yeah, they've crashed here.
I would have gone for a more dramatic ending. I mean, maybe Marc thought that he didn't have enough time in the episode, but it's the final episode. You can afford to overrun a bit. Go all out. Explosions. Big space battle. Don't just have a Simulant cornered in a kitchen and shot. Especially since Simulants are supposed to be immune to bazookoid missiles. Just saying.